John Krasinski is going to prove to the world that he's more than just Jim from The Office, no matter how many people he has to kill to do it. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
And I'm Michelle.
This is our post-Geekout reaction for A Quiet Place, a name I have screwed up every single time I've tried to say it, except for this time.
Yay!
This is the take we're going to keep. So, for anybody who has not seen a post-Geekout reaction before, it is not a review. In a review, there are no spoilers. This is an open discussion between the two of us about the thing that we just watched, and I have to stress this, there will be spoilers in here, because this has a major spoiler, like 2 minutes into the goddamn thing, and you can't talk about the film without talking about that.
Yeah.
So if you've only seen the trailers, or you don't even know what this movie is, tune out now, go and watch this movie, then come back. But for everybody else who knows how post-Geekout reaction works, you probably also have a, for everybody else who has seen the film and you do know how a post-Geekout reaction works, you're probably wondering, what the hell is all this? We're on vacation at the moment. We are not in our normal abode. We are in Boston this weekend for PAX East. Now, this will probably be going up like Saturday night, Sunday morning, so I'll still be in Boston for another day, so if you see me just walking around, just say hey to me. Yes, I always enjoy meeting fans. I met a really nice one the other day. I don't know if he wants me to say his name, but yeah, I met a really nice one while I was in line for something at PAX. We talked for a couple of minutes. Very sweet guy.
Very nice.
Yeah, so, anywho.
Yeah, so about A Quiet Place.
Yes, let's get into this movie.
Well, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen pretty much the basic premise of it.
That's the thing, there isn't a lot else to this film aside from that. Like, a lot of people think that this is going to be like some psychological thriller. And it's like, no, it is a real basic monster movie, but with a very original premise to it. Because, yeah, you've seen, in the trailers, you see the moment of the little boy with the rocket ship about to be attacked, and then you see, like, Emily Blunt is going to give birth, and oh no, that's going to make a lot of sound, and they're at this farmhouse, and oh, they got to do something about that. That's the entire movie, and I mean that pretty literally.
Wait, without spoiling anything.
Shit, man. I mean, like, just the beats of this film. Like, that's the thing. You think, oh, you're gonna watch them over the course of weeks and days and months and maybe even years. Who knows? You kind of do, because this movie starts off at day 89 of, we're gonna call it an invasion, because we don't actually know what this is.
We don't know what these monsters are or where they came from.
I would have to assume that they're aliens, but who knows, maybe they lived in the Earth's core and they just broke out. Like,
maybe they're like some science experiment gone terribly wrong, you don't know.
But it's not important what they are. All we know is that all of a sudden, one day, these aliens popped down, or monsters popped up, and they are unstoppable. They have armored skin, they're practically like nothing can damage them, and they're incredibly fast, and they can rip through steel like it's wet paper. These things are perfect killing machines, but they can't see, they can only hear.
Yeah, they sense everything with their sound. And
they can hear for like miles away. They're like Daredevil, can't even do this stuff. So everybody now has to just live in perfect silence. You make one sound, you're instantly dead. Because that's how quickly they move on you. This thing starts off at day 89, and you see John Krasinski with his family. They're going through this supermarket or this pharmacy just trying to get supplies. Apparently they needed pills for their son.
Yeah, one of their sons was like sick or something.
Yeah, but that never comes up, so I'm wondering if it's like after that point, it never comes up again, so it's like, is it maybe a chronic condition? Was it just a temporary thing?
I don't know.
It just, it feels weird that it's like, that's how they start the film with them trying to get pills for their son's condition, but then the condition never really comes back up or anything.
I thought maybe he was just like sick and had a cold or something, just needed medicine, like or aspirin.
It could very well be that, yeah.
Yeah.
But their youngest child is drawing with chalk on the floor, and everybody in this movie speaks in sign language because that's how you have to.
Yeah, and also they have a deaf daughter, so they need to speak sign language to communicate with her, which is helping them.
Yeah, you can tell they were kind of prepared before this, for the monsters coming, because they already knew sign language. But the son is drawing a rocket ship on the ground, and he signs rocket ship to his sister. And he goes, that's how we're going to get away. And the sister just has this look of, oh, no. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's not gonna work. Sorry. But he doesn't say anything.
There's this toy rocket that he wanted.
He wanted this toy rocket, and the toy rocket, the dad sees it and he's like, no, it's hard. If it falls on the ground, it's gonna make a sound. And also, there's batteries in it, so it makes sounds on its own. We can't do it too loud. I'm sorry. And they start walking away, and the sister's just like, you know what? It's okay. This will be our little secret. I'm gonna give it back to you. So she gives it back to him without the batteries, and then as soon as her back is turned, he grabs those batteries and puts them back in. And as they're walking back, suddenly it starts making sounds. And this is what you see in the trailer of John Krasinski turn around and run in to try and get to his son. He looks over, he sees something, a blur just going through the woods, and that's where in the trailers that scene ends. And you assume, because you've seen a movie before, he's gonna get to him before the monster does. In the movie, that monster, like just a blur across the screen, and that kid is gone. And this is like 2 minutes into the goddamn film, and I'm just, like, I felt my jaw drop at that scene.
And then it just cuts to the title.
And then, yeah, title. And I'm like,
wow, fuck. That's quite an opening.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant opening for this film, because in a horror film, in order for it to really, like, have some weight to it, you need to get that sense that no one is safe. And one of the rules of movies, not just horror films, but movies in general, is you don't kill the adorable little kid. You don't do that. This film, 2 minutes into it, went, fuck that shit. That kid is gone. We ain't listening to no rules. And I was looking at this like, they could kill John Krasinski halfway through this film, and I wouldn't be shocked at this point.
Yeah.
And it's perfect that they did this, because in the trailers, you know Emily Blunt is pregnant and she's going to have a baby. And, like, that's one of these suspenseful scenes that you see in the trailer when you see, like, the monster's arm coming up while she's trying to give birth without making a sound. But in your mind, it's like, yeah, it's a pregnant woman and a baby. They're gonna be okay. But after that shot, I was like, fuck, I don't know. I have no idea who was living and who was dying in this film.
Honestly, the fact that they decided to, like, have another kid after that happened is like, wow, you guys are really crazy, or, like, really brave. I can't tell which one.
Or really irresponsible. I mean, fuck, that pharmacy didn't have condoms left? I mean, seriously, it's like, what looters went through there and left all the food and medicine, but they just grabbed all the condoms out of there? It's like, Jesus Christ.
I kind of feel like they wanted to get her pregnant because they wanted to, like, replace the kid.
That's the only explanation I can really accept for it. Like, just a moment of desperation. But at the same time, dear God, you know the world you're bringing this kid into. And you know babies make sound.
Yes.
It's the one thing they do.
Yes, they scream, they cry. That's what they do.
So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, God damn, man, it's, okay, there's many things. I really like this film. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Really like this film. But there are many things in this movie that you can't help but look at and just be like, what the fuck is that? What about this thing? It's like, and some of them, the majority of them are ones in which you're kind of like, well, it's a small thing, it's not gonna matter. But there's other ones in which you're like, no, that's going to be a plot point later on. Feels like if it's going to be a plot point, you need to use the common sense that even the audience would have in a moment like that. And yeah, so there are some problems like that. Like, we'll go ahead and quickly go through the rest of the plot here. After the kid is killed, it then jumps ahead by a year. We're now at like day 428 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
So, in other words, it's not like she was pregnant when the monster invasion began.
No.
She wasn't even pregnant when they they lost their first kid.
Yeah.
This clearly happened after that point.
It's like, that's why I feel like it felt like they were trying to replace the kid
like
that they lost.
Yeah, kind of. But it's now that many years later. The daughter is mad at the dad at all times, and part of it is because, like, she thinks the dad blames her for the loss of their son, and she kind of blames herself for the loss of her brother.
Yeah.
And her other brother is a complete coward. And this is kind of a slight problem, is that I couldn't help but look at this and be like, this kid is way too much of a coward, and the daughter is way too much of just a standoffish, like, rebellious, frumpy teenager. But when you look at all the stuff she's dealing with and the world that he's living in, I can't really blame him. It's like, you kind of want to go, you're being a little bit annoying with the extent that you're taking this to, but yeah, it's
I kind of felt like it could have been worse.
It could definitely.
They could have been like complete and total like one-note caricatures.
That's the other thing. They at least for a film where there's almost no dialogue, they do a pretty damn good job of giving everybody enough character. Like not really backstory or anything like that. Although the backstory gets the opening of this film, but they all have kind of a personality. They all have a character. You do kind of get to know them. And the little moments when they do get to talk actually are pretty sweet. Yeah. They actually have a lot of meaning to them. Like there was a moment in which John Krasinski is taking his son out to teach him how to fish, and which that was another kind of like small thing I had, is that a lot of things in here which is like, yeah, it's important that we do this, that we teach you how to do this. I was like, you've been living in this world for like over a year now at this point. Shouldn't they know this at this point? Like, how to do all this stuff? Like, I guess that's one of the reasons why, like, me looking at the son being that much of a coward was kind of a nitpick for me, is that I was like, okay, if we jumped ahead by, like, 2 months, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I buy it. But the fact that it's been, like, you've been taking him on these, like, fishing expeditions for a year now, at least I'm assuming you've been taking him nonstop, and has he been this way every single time you've took him out? Like, that's kind of like what I'm trying to get at. I think that's one of my problems with it.
Yeah, it's like, there are some things that they don't really go and explain that much, and sometimes that can, like, throw off the... throw it off a bit, but...
But then again, it's like, this is a movie where there's, like, almost no dialogue. So it's like, yeah, you can't really explain
Yeah, it's like, and like...
I mean, they don't even explain the monsters the way that they explain that.
No, but it's like, I'm glad they didn't do that, because it, like, adds more attention to it. It's like, you don't know where they came from, or like how to defeat them, or anything.
Exactly. The way that we know anything about the monsters is that now, a year later, John Krasinski, he's got like a bunker that he's built, and he's just got a radio down there that he's just typing out Morse code SOS at all times. But the walls are lined with newspaper clippings about everything that's been going on, and so you get little bits of information on that. But he's got a big, and this plays in later into the film, and it is one of those things that's like, okay now, that's a little bit too much. He's got a big whiteboard, and it's like, armored skin, can't be hurt, can't see, only hear, don't make sounds. And it's like, these are like basic notes. Like, this doesn't feel like, it feels like that board is there only for the audience, because like, yeah, he doesn't need to remind himself of that stuff at all times. Like, write out like things you've been trying to stop them or stuff like that. Like, there's one bit in there, it's like, how many in the area? 3 confirmed. It's like, okay, that I imagine you putting up on a whiteboard, because if you learn new stuff, like it's like, oh, I spotted a 4th one. 4 confirmed. Like, that makes sense. But then in like giant green letters, like different from the rest of the text, it just says, what's the weakness?
Yeah.
And it's like, but that's gonna come back. That's another thing in this film. Anytime they introduce something, it comes back. But normally that would be a good thing in a film. In this one, I kind of do have a nitpick, because the stuff they introduce, they will always hold on. It's like, well, that's going to be a big plot point at some point later on. Because, like, there is a moment in which Emily Blunt, she's taking laundry up, and she gets the laundry bag caught on a nail.
Yeah.
And she pulls the nail so that it's now pointing straight up, and it's a big-ass nail. And then after she gets the laundry bag free, she's like, oh, okay, all right, whatever. And then she just starts walking up the stairs, and then the camera zooms in on that nail like it's the second villain of this film.
It kind of is. Yeah, like, I saw, there were, like, people in the audience who were, like, gasping.
The entire audience was like, oh, fuck, no!
Because you know someone's going to step on that nail, and they're going to make some noise.
And that's kind of what my problem with, that's a compliment and a negative of this film to me, is that, like, the compliment is, you set that up, and that is a great thing. Like, the audience, like, we are going to be thinking, oh, that's awesome. But that nail is so goddamn big, and they hold on it, like, they zoom in on it so much, like, dun, dun, dun. It's like, I know.
Yeah.
It's like just pull back a tiny bit.
Yeah, it's like, great setup, a little bit too on the nose.
Yeah, it's, again, a little too on the nose. That's it. Like, not even bad.
No.
Just too on the nose. Like, we get it. We get it, man.
Yeah.
Like, just pull back just like 10% and it would have been great. But again, that's one of those things that I mentioned in here. Like, I have questions throughout this film of, how did no one notice that? Like, there's a few things like that. And this is one of them in which that nail is so big.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm like,
how do you...
Dude, I could see that thing from space. Like, how did you not see that right then?
Like, how did she not do something about it the moment, like...
I can imagine you, like... It's hard when you can't, like, hammer that down.
I know, but it's like, she had laundry. She could, like, put, like, a blanket over it so, like, no one, like...
No, that's far worse.
I guess not, yeah.
That's far worse.
But it's like, cover it with something.
Or get a hammer, instead of hammering it down, take the backside of it, hook it in there, and then just pull it so it comes back down.
Yeah,
Still
like...
not great,
no, it was
but
like...
it's something.
Yeah, it's like, just do something with that nail, like...
Yeah. Man, that house must be falling apart after a year and you can't hammer anything.
Yeah.
Fuck. But yeah, so there's that one, and then later on there's one that we'll get into. But yeah, John Krasinski's taking his son out, and there's a really sweet moment during this in which the son is freaking out when the fish starts flopping around, because it's like, no, they'll come and find us. It's like, no, we're close to the river's making noise. If you're next to sound, as long as you're not the loudest sound there, you're safe. It's like, okay, cool. You found a good way to introduce this rule. And the way that he kind of teaches that to his son is he then takes him to this big waterfall. And the waterfall is very loud. And he starts, like, talking to the son. And it's like, wow, this is probably, like, the first time they've talked in over a year. And they're finally safe to do it. It's like, man, that is actually really sweet that they were able to do that.
Yeah, and when they talk, it's like... It moves the plot along, too.
It does. Yeah, absolutely. Because he talks to him, it's like, do you blame...
They don't say any names. That's the thing. It's like, do you blame her?
I'm sure they... Oh, did you say her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like... Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, they do have... The characters do have names. But
we had to say through the credits to find that.
Yeah.
It might be, like, written somewhere or something, like on the mailbox.
I mean, like, the littlest kid, his name was... Bay or something like that. B-E-A-U. How do you pronounce that?
I don't know.
But it's like, yeah, I saw like a photo of him like in his room. Like the mother was crying because she was sad that she lost him, and like she's kind of worried about her new child coming into the world.
Yeah.
So it's like she was like in his old room, and like that's why. And I saw like his name in a frame. So it's like, oh, that's the kid.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you get some bits like that. I'm sure.
Also, like he had like a space mobile, like a...
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, oh yeah, his rocket ship, yeah, that's his thing. He likes space and rocket
got the space. Okay. Speaking of conversations, moving the plot ahead. So yes, they have that conversation there, and it was like, do you blame her for what happened to Bo? And he's like, no, of course, I love her. He's like, well, she blames herself. Maybe you need to tell her this. So it's like, okay, yeah, it's really touching. And like, you get a moment where she gets kind of like rebellious, and like she goes out there because she's feeling useless, and she just goes up to the gravesite that they put there on the bridge, and that's shot beautifully. Like, I think this is John Krasinski's first directed film. He did a pretty damn good job on it.
And it's like, and she took the toy rocket ship and she like cut pliers so like it wouldn't make sound, but the lights would still activate.
Oh, I was wondering what she was doing. Okay.
Yeah.
Then, okay. All right. Well, yeah, that's pretty sweet of her.
Yeah.
But then that night, the mom starts going into labor, and you see they have like everything worked out. Like, it was stupid of them to have a child with all this shit going on, but they prepped and planned as much as they could.
The problem was that the child came too early.
Yeah, it came like 2 weeks early.
Yeah.
But she goes down in the basement and steps on the nail, and yeah, that audience, ooh, the audience was doing nothing but,
yeah, like even if the permit wasn't like don't make noise, that still is a painful scene. Like anyone stepping on a nail with their bare foot.
Yeah, I didn't look at that because there's moments which she's like pulling her foot out, and you can hear every.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like everyone is barefoot because shoes make clomping noises.
Then that's kind of another question I have. Is like, no one's gonna have slippers.
Yeah, it's like, why don't you have socks?
Socks or something. Yeah, like, okay, big boots, fine, I get it, but it's like, sneakers aren't that bad. It's like,
I guess,
but like slippers. For God's sakes, at least give me slippers. Like, sneakers I can buy being too loud. Slippers make no fucking sound. It's like, all right, something, but it's like, okay, I get that. But also they put sand in front of them wherever they go so that they don't even like crinkle leaves.
Yeah, and I thought that was clever.
That was really clever, but it did raise the question of where the fuck are you getting all this sand from?
Maybe from sandbags, like in case there's a flood or something.
Alright, yeah, I guess so. He is on a farmhouse. I guess there would be reasons to have that many sandbags because in case of flooding or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a way of explaining it. But that night when she's going into labor, she goes downstairs, steps on the nail, and then she flips a light switch, and it turns all the lights outside from yellow to red, and that's like the sign that they had for, okay, it's happening now. And then they have to go in there, but like the monsters are in there, and the dad says, okay, time for playing rocket ship, which is, okay, that's very touching. And the son, who's freaking out, is like, you gotta go and do this, you gotta be brave for mom. And so then the son gets brave, and he runs out there, and he lights this thing in the middle of the crops, and it starts shooting off fireworks and all this. So that way...
That would distract the monsters from
It's louder than the mom screaming.
Yes.
So yeah, that was perfect. I thought that was really smart of them, and also it pays nice tribute back to the son who died. But the thing is, like, yeah, I thought that was gonna be like the end of the film. Like, that's the big climax of the film. Nah, man, this film still has like half an hour left after that, and after that, it's basically them just on that night trying to last until the morning.
Yes.
With the monsters now roaming all over the place. And he takes the mom down into this bunker in the barn they built, just loaded with soundproof padding, and it is really disturbing.
Yeah, it's like the crib. I don't even know why I even call it a crib. It's
a tomb.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like a casket that they built for this baby.
Yeah, because they knew the baby was gonna scream.
Yeah.
So they had to keep it quiet. But so they have like an oxygen tank, and they put the mask on the baby, and then they put the baby like in this box.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well that's a tiny crib that they built for it. No, then they put the wooden lid on top of it with the baby. There aren't even air holes in there. It's like a solid, like the baby would die there, except it has an oxygen tank with it. It's like, that is, it almost makes you as the audience feel like you just watched a baby being buried.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. It's like, if that's what you have to go through to make sure your baby survives, maybe you just should not have a baby in the first place.
Again, it's one of those like, why the fuck did you do this? Like, why would you not be more... Man.
Yeah, it's like, again, I feel like it's because they just want to replace their child that they lost.
It feels like it, yeah.
But it's like... It's not worth it, I feel like.
It's one of those things where it's like, okay, it takes 9 months for, like, a baby to be born. Cut to, like, instead of coming to a year in, have this movie take place at, like, the 8-month mark. Like, 8 months after the monsters invade. Alright, they didn't know until, like, it was like, okay, we're going to do this. And then all of a sudden, like, hey, 1 month in, monsters are invading. Oh, fuck. Now what are we going to do? Like, I felt like that would have been way better. Like, because you can't help throughout this entire film going, why the fuck did you think this was a good idea? Like,
shoot, like, it reminded me of, like, another, like, horror movie, like a post-apocalyptic zombie movie where, like, the mom, like, the wife was pregnant and she's like, I don't want to bring a child into this world. The
Zack Snyder Day of the Dead? Because it was a pregnant woman.
Yeah, it was, but it wasn't that one. Like,
it kind of reminded me of The Road, because The Road stars this kid who was born after, like, the apocalypse happened, but it was like the dinosaur apocalypse where like an asteroid hit down, smoke clouds come up, like so there was no vegetation or anything growing, and this kid is like grown up and
like the movie I was thinking is like we saw it together. It's like the mom took her own life, and so it was like the father and the son.
Oh fuck! It does sound familiar.
Yeah, it's like shoot, I forget the name of it, but it's like
man, I do not remember that.
But it's like
I remember seeing something like that.
Yeah, it's like
fuck.
Yeah, so it's like in that movie, the mom was like, I don't want to bring a child into this world, and you understand that. But in this one, it's like, you understand that there are like monsters out here, so why do you want to bring a child into this world? Like,
it's one of those things where it's like, I wish they had just had a conversation about it.
Yeah.
In fact, the one conversation they get to have in the soundproof bunker, basically the conversation they have is like, how are we going to protect them? It's like, now is when you have this discussion.
Yeah, it's like, oh, now you decided?
The baby is born. It's like, why did this only hit you now? Like, it'd be another thing, even if we got to see that conversation, like, again, like, imagine if, like, this film took place over the course of, like, months, and, like, we got to see the moment in which they were pregnant, and we got to see the conversation they had.
Yeah, exactly.
About what are they going to do in this situation. It's like, that would have been better. But, yeah, it is one of those where it's like...
Yeah, like, if they had the child by accident or something, like, I feel like that would have made more sense. Like, but like I said, because...
But even if they had by accident, it goes back to my first thing that I brought up in here. Fucking condoms, man. Like, you have to realize what world you are living in now. I'm not saying don't have sex with your wife. I'm saying, like, God, you gotta be fucking careful about everything now.
Also, like, they must have had really quiet sex.
Yeah.
Like...
So basically, at this point, now the rest of the film is just them trying to survive until morning.
Yeah, like trying to get back together and save.
Because the son is now separated from them. The daughter came running back in after all this happened. So the daughter and the son get connected.
And it's like, if they were able to communicate, this would have been over so quickly, but because they can't, they can't make any sound, it's just very tense.
Like, because like the daughter and the son find each other, and they're on top of the corn silo, and they're trying to like get their attention over there, and they can't, which leads into a great sequence in which like they fall through the corn silo. And like the metal doors in the corn silo start falling off too in there with them, and it's like, man, I never thought of how terrifying that must be, but yeah, it's basically like quicksand.
Yeah, like geez, like being stuck in a silo and like sink into that corn.
They are falling into the corn, but then there's other moments where it's like the metal door falls down and the metal door doesn't sink into it.
Well, I think it's because it's like it's lighter and flatter. You know, it's like snowshoes.
A metal door is not going to be lighter than children.
No, I mean like. You know, like the snowshoes, you know how...
Oh, it's like evenly dispersed.
Evenly dispersed, yes, that's what I mean.
Okay,
yes.
I get that. Okay, that's science. I understand now. But this leads me into something that I really wanted to talk about. I was going to kind of save it at the end, but this was the scene which really pulled off the best of me. This is a movie in which sound is terrifying. Any sound you hear means the monsters are coming for you. So... even the smallest things make you go, oh god, no, could that be a thing? And this moment was there in the corn silo, and just every single time they move, like corn getting put up onto the big metal door, ding 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 ding, and it's like, fuck.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's the thing. It's like in most horror movies, like I don't really care for jump scares because it seems so cheap. But here's this thing, like because sound is such like a significant...
Sound is the enemy.
Sound is the enemy. Like any sort of sound, you just freak out because you're like, oh, there's a chance that they might end up dying or something.
But also when it is a jump scare that doesn't have anything to do with sound, like it's a visual jump scare, that works on the audience too, because the reason why jump scares are cheap is that they're meant to shock the audience, and shock isn't scare. Like scare takes time setting up, shock is just... like that. It's like, just blowing up a paper bag and popping it behind someone. That's not scary. It's just surprising. You weren't expecting it. But it's natural when you are shocked to go, ha! Like to make a sound. And in this, when like Emily Blunt turns the corner and sees the monster there just standing before her, and she's like, well, she doesn't say anything. No, but she's the audience says that. When she turns around and she doesn't make a sound and the audience makes a sound, you kind of have to stop and realize you can't even be mad at the jump scare because, A, I mean, it's a legit scare. It's, the monster is there, and it makes sense for the monster to be in the room at the moment. Like, they set all that up. It's not random stuff. But it makes the audience go, did I just make a sound? Did I gash? Did I scream at that? I would be dead. Like, it's one of those things in which, like, every time that a jump scare gets the audience, you kind of have to stop and realize, fuck, I would be dead right now.
Yeah, it's like, and I think... And, like, because of that, I feel like the setting is very good because it's basically, like, a very quiet, small farm town that they live in. And it's like, if this was the city where there's, like, noise all over the place, everyone would be dead.
There's one newspaper where it says New York is quarantined.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is it quarantined because the monsters got in and now it's just killing people nonstop? Or did they, like, blow up the bridges to keep the monsters from coming in because, like, they realized, yeah, if they get inside here, it's all fucking done. It is over with. That's another thing. You never really get much of a sense of the outside world, but you get a sense that there isn't an outside world because you're sending the SOSs and no one's responding.
And it's like, there's like a scene, like every night they would like put like a bonfire on top of the silo and like you'd see across the field and everything and see like all the other bonfires lit up and let you know if they are survivors. And it's like, it feels like every night there are like fewer and fewer bonfires, so it's like, oh geez. That
was one thing I wish that this movie had done, is give you more of like, let us get to see other people in the world, because you only see one other person once in this film, and it's when they're just walking through the woods and they run across a dead body and they look up and then there's the man staying there and it's like, you can tell it was husband and wife, and like then he just gets that look on his face of like, I can't take living in this world anymore. And he just screams, and John Krasinski's got to get the hell out of there.
And it's like, my wife is gone, I have nothing left to live for. You can tell, like, that was...
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've been doing this for a year. I cannot take it anymore. Like, you can tell people are just snapping. But, so this all leads towards the end of the film, and yeah, here's the last big moment that kind of gets to me, gets like the spoiler stuff, is that John Krasinski, he has to save the kids. And they're being attacked in the truck, and then he just screams, and the monster comes and gets him, and he signs to the daughter, I love you, you know, I always loved you, you know, so it's a nice little moment. And yeah, it's good because, yeah, hey, man, the protagonist dies in this film. It's shocking. You would not expect to do that. But it leads me into something, and I don't know if you saw it this way or not, but it's another small problem that I have. This is John Krasinski's first, like, directorial it's his directorial debut. And he has very much been trying to get people to stop thinking of him as Jim from The Office. Which, yeah, he deserves to not be thought of it like that. Yeah, he's been trying this a while because he actually tried to be Captain America before Chris Evans got the role. Which, yeah, that wouldn't work, man. Sorry. Chris Evans got that role down. Because, yeah, I remember when he got, like, buff as shit for that. And then they're like, yeah, no, you didn't get it. It's like, so now so for like a season on The Office, he was just wearing really baggy suits to try and cover up that he was huge now. It's
like Buff Joe's like, might as well be Clark Kent.
Yeah, you can be Superman, how about that? But yeah, he really doesn't want people to think of him as that anymore, and I understand that. But there are moments in this film where it feels like he as the director is way too in love with himself. Like, it feels like there's that moment which he's like, you have to save them. You have to save them. And the camera's slowly zooming in, and it's like, yes, I am the hero of this film. And it's like, and there's so many, like, other, like, small moments. Like, not big moments. It's not like he has, like, that's probably the closest to, like, the most obvious moment like that. But there's other small moments in here in which I'm like, yeah, the wife is kind of a little bit more interesting than you, I honestly think, but it's really, like, the camera is really just in love with you.
That's kind of, like, I noticed that, like, when, like, the director is also starring in their movie.
Yeah, because I had complained about that last year with the film, too, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that tends to happen.
Yeah, so it might... I don't know if it's him being desperate to get people to accept him as a legitimate actor, outside of just the sitcoms he's been doing, but... Yeah, it did kind of feel like that a little bit. Like, he was just really like, I am the best. And it's like, alright, it's, you know, calm down a little bit. But I would love to see him direct a film where he doesn't star in it and see how he shoots the protagonist then and kind of compare it to this one. But at the end of this thing, there's something that we haven't really been talking about, which is the fact that the daughter, she has a hearing aid and the hearing aid doesn't work.
Yeah.
The dad hasn't been able to make one that works for her. And... there's moments where the monsters are sneaking up on her, and then all of a sudden the hearing aid starts getting feedback, and that's kind of another small problem. It always gets feedback at the exact second she needs it to. And it honestly got to a point in which I was like, does it specifically interact with their hearing? Because it always is the moment in which they start trying to listen, and all of a sudden she gets feedback, and like, are the monsters emitting like a weird like frequency?
Like are the monsters like... using sonar
or something? Like, I was trying to figure that out.
Yeah, like,
no, sonar would, like, allow them to see, kind of.
Yeah.
So it can't be that.
Yeah.
So it always activates whenever the monster is listening for them. I was just like, I don't know the science of how to explain that. So instead, it just feels really convenient.
Yeah.
Because, guess what? That's the monster's weakness, is feedback. And that leads me into, again, it's a thing, it's a lot of moments like this in this film where it's like, I want to compliment the film, but I have a problem with it at the same time, which is no one has any idea how to take these monsters out. They are indestructible, nothing can damage them, they're incredibly fast, they will hear you from miles away, you cannot stop these monsters. And this film, they learn the weakness to the monsters, which is feedback. It's like static feedback.
Yeah.
And all I could think was, this has been going on for...
almost
for a year and a half. You know, we figured out early, like maybe before the first month of this was up, people learned because it was on newspapers, and who knows how long they ripped through mankind before newspapers started going on. So I would say anywhere between 2 weeks to at max a month.
Maybe the monsters brought back the newspaper business because everyone's like,
oh, no one can listen to. Oh,
yeah.
But still, someone has to deliver the papers. The printing presses make noise. There's no such thing as the silent printing press. So yeah, we figured out early on, they hear. That's their thing. But we don't know what their weakness is. No one tried high-pitched noises?
Yeah, because...
No one tried just blowing them out?
Yeah, because, like, that's the thing with dogs. I mean, dogs have, like, very sensitive hearing, but,
yeah,
like,
dog whistles.
Yeah, but dog whistles, like, drive them nuts because it's so high-pitched.
Fuck, man, do you know how many villains Daredevil has had who use high-pitched noises against him? Like, this is a really fucking obvious thing. And here's the thing. But here's the other thing. It's not like an obvious... It's not like the water in Signs, where it makes no goddamn sense unless you go back through and, like, you listen to someone's weird-ass explanation of how it all works out. It's like, no, it makes next to zero explanation. Which I do know the whole, they're supposed to be demons and he blessed the water before they attacked that night, so it was now technically holy water. So it's like, I get that. I know that explanation. But now the whole demon alien thing doesn't make any fucking sense throughout that entire film.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's not like the water in which is like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. This makes absolute perfect sense.
It's just...
But it makes so much sense that how the fuck did no one think of this?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, it's like, they feel like this should have been an easy resolve.
Yeah, just like, especially like in the city, it's just like have all the screens just be static.
Dude.
Like, have all the radio stations have feedback.
What happens when they like ram into a car and just it's like,
yeah, like
that might not be high enough for it, but you get like an entire city block going off like that. It's like, yeah, we're driving them out of their minds. Yeah, so she is able to and at the end of this film, she's able to take them down because she takes her malfunctioning earpiece, puts it up to the radio he's been talking to this whole time. The feedback is now huge, and it's like the monster like is freaking out, and then Emily Blunt takes the shotgun up to its exposed brain and blows its head off. And then they look into, man, this made the audience laugh and cheer at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
This movie, this like dramatic movie about, oh my god, family coming together and oh, these monsters, isn't it scary? This movie ends with them looking at all the cameras they have set up and sees dozens of these monsters coming from every direction.
Yeah, so like the mom and the daughter, they just look at each other, like the mom has the shotgun and the daughter has the earpiece, and they just look at each other like, let's do this.
This literally ends with the mom cocking the shotgun like a badass, and it's like, okay, if this was a cheesy ass B horror film, awesome, way to go. This wasn't that up until that moment.
Yeah.
I was like, for real?
It's like, wow, that's kind of a mood change.
Yeah,
like, that's a really change.
I mean, it's a good, like, yay, hooray, fight the monsters. Like, it is a good ending. If this was like an Evil Dead Army of Darkness style film, perfect way to go out. You know, have her say a one-liner there at the end, like, let's make some noise.
But it wouldn't make sense either because the daughter is deaf, so there wouldn't be no reason for her to do a one-liner.
The daughter looks at her like, I won't, but, and then, no,
she signs it. She signs, let's do this, like.
You could have called this film Signs.
Oh, and it would have been a better movie.
I was about to say, isn't it weird how many ways this, like, matches up with Signs? This is a movie where it cuts to a point in this person's life after they have lost someone very close to them, and they're kind of a wreck because of that, and they have a child with a medical condition, and it's... Yeah, and they're on the farmhouse having to protect themselves. They're racing through the cornfield moments all throughout this, and at the end, there is a secret weakness that takes them down. Like, this really is, like, beat for beat Signs in many ways.
It's like, he just saw Signs like, I bet I could do this better.
It does feel like that, doesn't it?
But, like, you mentioned, like, running through the cornfields, it's like, there's like, this one moment where, like, the son, he was like on the sand path and then just like jumps into the corn and starts making all the noise and you were like,
yeah, okay, I didn't know if I was being too obvious with that, but it was like, yeah,
but I felt the same way too. Like I was like that too. It's like you're shuffling out through the cornfields and you're making all this noise, which through the
cornfields, like you should be dead instantly.
Yeah.
Like he is only saved because he runs into a tractor tire and knocks himself out.
Yeah.
So he's able to shut the fuck up for 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's like, shut up by doing nothing. Shut up by knocking yourself out.
That's the thing. This is a monster. This is one of those monsters where it's like, hey man, if it thinks it has you, stand the fuck still. Don't move. That's the way you beat it. And so yeah, but he's a kid and he's freaking out. So
yeah.
Which again, I would be a fucking coward in this situation too. But it is one of those, like, God, dude, kid, come on,
like,
work with me, kid, work with me.
Stop being such a weenie.
It's one of those things where this is one of the secrets to like writing characters that the audience will like. You have to realize the audience is going to be smarter than the characters. So you need to have the characters, even though it would make sense for them to behave in a certain situation, you need to understand the audience is not going to be acting that way while they're watching this movie. Mm-hmm. The audience, if the audience in the theater is thinking, why don't you just do this? You need to have your fucking audience, you need to have your character do that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, this film establishes early on, stay the fuck still. And no, this kid is just that much of a coward that he's running around. But again, I want to point out, I understand why you would write him that way, because almost any child would act that way. Fuck, I would probably act that way, even though I'm thinking in my mind, yeah, I need to stay still. I would flip the fuck out.
Yeah, but I was like, I would have like kept on the sand path. I would just like ran for my life on the sand path. It's like, run for your life, but keep quiet about it.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that moment, and like, the monster doesn't hear it. But there's another one that made me really question it. It's when they have the mom and the newborn baby in the soundproof bunker. And she's like, you have to go and save those children. And then you see John Krasinski like coming out of the soundproof bunker, and he's like walking around, and all of a sudden you see water start going towards the soundproof bunker, and then the camera like pans over, and there's a broken pipe, which I don't know when that happened, but there's like, a broken pipe, and there's just water flooding in there, and all I could think was, how the fuck did he not hear that when he came out of this? Like, that was a big one for me. Like I said, there's a lot of like small things in here that you're like, alright, I can let that go. Like the kid running through the cornfield and the monster doesn't get. Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? But it doesn't really affect the plot all that much. But the nail, you know there's going to be a plot point. And this broken pipe, it affects the plot in a huge way later on, because it floods the soundproof bunker that they're in. Which leads into a nice sequence in which you see like the monsters like swimming around.
Yeah, like, I thought they were gonna like use the water to their advantage or something.
Yeah, like that's pretty creepy as fuck. In fact, that is a great shot of the monster there like coming up out of the water when she's trying to pick up the baby. Is like, that is a great shot. But this is a world that you have established is completely silent. Mm-hmm. How the fuck did you not hear a running broken pipe when you like came out back into this soundproof world that you're in, when it is like 5 feet from you? Yeah, man, when that's going to be a plot thing, it's like, alright, come on, man. I can't excuse that one. Like, you need to like have it break after he leaves or something. Like, have like yeah, again, like wait until after he leaves and have the pipe break. Also, how long were they gone? Because that room flooded quick.
Yeah, it's like...
but yeah, it's time... How much
like
time is moving a little bit weird.
Yeah, the way time moves is weird in this movie, because it's like... I have not gone through labor, but... Doesn't that usually, like, last a few hours?
It can, that's the thing. Labor in movies go completely different periods of time.
I guess so.
Yeah, that's the thing. Labor in movies has always been very different. Like, you can give birth in the backseat of a car, like, in, like, 2 minutes in a movie. It's like, it's... From what I understand, that's a rare occurrence. Especially when you're doing it by yourself. I'm sure she, like, practiced to do it by herself.
I guess.
But yeah, so there's lots of small things like that, like how much time is moving, like little scenes like him running through the cornfield. It's like, how are you doing? Come on, man. But then there's other moments in here, and they tend to be moments that have to do with plot, like the nail and the broken pipe. It's like, okay, it feels like someone should have fucking noticed that. But yeah, overall, I know that we're coming in with more complaints here at the end. But man, I just want to reiterate, even though this is a very simple film that takes place over like one night dealing with these monsters, and that's basically it, it's a damn scary movie.
Yeah.
I was freaking the fuck out continuously in this film.
Yeah, it is very suspenseful. Yeah, it's very tense.
And it does a great job of like lulling you into a sense of safety, or into a sense of like dread when you don't know if this is a moment of dread, because there's no fucking sound. Mm-hmm. And there's the moment when they like knock over a lamp. Yeah. Which I would say, I think the lighting in this film could have been a little bit better, and it was at that moment that I realized the lighting's a little bit flat in this film, because they knock over this lamp and the room is still just as bright as it was a moment ago, and I was like, I kind of feel like if you're using lamps in your house, like, everything needs to be lit way more creepishly. So I do have a little bit of problem. I think the line's a little bit flat in this. But it's after they knock over the lamp, and they're like, and there's no music or anything, and the camera's just like panning around, and there's no sounds outside, but there's also no music, and it made me realize any other horror film, if this was like leading up to a scary moment, there would be slow music, like slowly building up. This one, there's no music, so you don't know if it's leading up to a scare or not.
Yeah, like the music in this film is like done very well.
It's very
like,
good. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's not always there, but when it is,
it's not supposed to be. But
yeah,
when it's there, it's pretty effective. Yeah, I actually thought that was pretty good. Also, there are things that they explain in here that I had questions about that they do actually explain well, which is like there's a moment in which 2 raccoons fall off the roof, and they're like, okay, that wasn't the monsters, and then the raccoons start walking away. I was like, how the fuck are there any animals at all left in this world?
And then you see a giant claw just...
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, fuck, they can be killed. All right.
Yeah, it's like, like there was like a scene where there were like birds flying in the sky and they're like squawking. It's like, I guess they're too high up for the monsters to get at. So.
Well, yeah, obviously, but like, it is one of those things where it's like, okay, that's a good early warning system that people have. So yeah, and like just the premise of this is really cool.
Yeah, I really do like the premise.
I think that even though I think the line's a little bit like basic, it's shot pretty damn well. Even when John Krasinski is kind of in love with himself. I'm just saying it right here. There are more zoom-ins on John Krasinski's face than there were in The Office during the confession scene. Yeah, so he is a little in love with himself, but the rest of the film is shot really damn good in here. And this film does a great job of setting it up immediately. You don't know what's going to happen. And yeah, that plays out throughout the rest of the film. You never know what's going to happen to any of these characters. But then at the end, like, the conclusion is like, how the fuck did no one think of this?
Yeah.
And it's a little bit goofy at the end when it doesn't
like
match the rest of the movie.
They dropped the ball at the end, but like, the majority of this movie, I felt like...
But again, they don't drop it like, say, Signs, where it's like, how the fuck does that work? It's like, no, this makes absolute sense.
Yeah, it wasn't really...
It just makes too much sense. That's like, how the fuck did no one think of this until now? Like, yeah, like... The army should have sound cannons that they're walking around with, or just fucking dog whistles should blow their heads off. I'm
just thinking of like Mars Attacks with like the yodeling.
It kind of is like that. Oh man, it is kind of like that. You're right. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. However, one last thing we have to say: I don't know if I can recommend seeing this in theaters. If you have an artsy theater, this is great. Yeah, like, because the little sounds that you're going to hear, like anytime that the audience goes, like you're going to hear it because the movie is that quiet and it works great. But at a general audience, especially if it's a crowd audience, fuck those audiences, man.
Yeah, I mean, there was like one lady in the audience who just kept laughing.
She was laughing non-stop throughout the beginning of this film. And then she was laughing so hard, she had to get up and leave at one point. And she was like standing around like the side of the railing, and she was like talking to her friend. And I was like, you know there's no sound in this film. We can still fucking hear you.
Yeah, like actually one person said, will you please calm down?
I almost got up and said, shut the fuck up. Like, I never do that, and it got so fucking close because I was getting pissed off. Because she came back at one point.
Yeah, like, and continued,
and she was laughing harder now throughout the film.
Like, I don't know why she was laughing.
Honestly, I think she was like an asshole because the daughter in this film, she started laughing when the daughter showed up, and the daughter is not like your typical Hollywood daughter.
She actually looked like a little girl.
She looked like a normal person.
Because like God forbid someone doesn't have like makeup or plastic surgery.
And she started like laughing when she popped up. And I was like, "Are you laughing because you think that the daughter looks ugly?" It's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, seriously, it's like, man, I wish those monsters would come and just like rip her apart.
Those would be the best. Those would be the best ushers at movies ever. Someone starts heckling the movie. Whoosh.
Yep.
It's like, all right, we're just fine. But it's like
that's why they were made.
Yes.
And they just broke out of their laboratories. Like, oh shit.
But like, I can't. It goes even beyond that, in all honesty, because like she was being a piece of shit. Like she came back and she was laughing even louder. Yeah. And like there was someone like sitting next to her too who was trying not to laugh either, and she was like shaking her chair back and forth, and the chair was squeaking. So it was just you just keep hearing that over and over again. Finally, someone had to tell him shut the fuck up, and I was like, glad that person did. But at the same time, even like the people, like normal audience members,
Yeah,
crunch, crunch.
Yes.
Like, shit, man, if you have an Alamo Draft House in your neighborhood...
Yeah, that would have been, like, the best way to view this.
That's the kind of the one reason I wanted to wait till we got back home to see this. Is like, I don't know how Jill honors you, but I didn't think this was going to be that big of a showing. Like, there's, like, a showing every hour at the theater we went to, and this was still booked solid. This is going to this is going to do gangbusters this weekend. So, yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, and why would you be listening to us at this point if we've already spoiled the entire film for you, but, man, if you are still on the fence of should I see this, I honestly think this is better waiting until it comes out at home. If you have a nice TV, like, I've gotten to that point in which I'm like, man, I have a 4K TV that we bought on Black Friday. It's like a big-ass thing. Theaters have gotten to that point in which I'm like, fuck, man, I used to be a champion of the movie-going experience. I used to be like, no, man, it's important being there with other moviegoers. You get that bond with each other. It's a great feeling. And, man...
You just love... It's gone.
As year goes by and TVs get better and movie-going audiences become bigger pieces of shit, like, I start losing that urge to, like, really argue for the movie-going experience. And with this one, I was like, nah, man, I can't even tell most people to go and see this in a movie. But if you can find an art house theater,
yes,
if you can find an Alamo or some tiny-ass theater where, like, everyone you know is going to be respectful, it actually is good because hearing the other people in the audience, like, even the slice, like, yeah, that makes you go, man, fuck, that was really effective. Like, even the tiniest gasps sound huge in this film, and that's great. So yeah, if you can find it at the right theater, it's totally worth checking out.
Yeah.
But at the general audiences, fuck that shit. Man, I cannot wait to see the Cinema Snobs reviewing this because we see it with general audiences. But thank you guys for tuning in. We are going to also be reviewing Cock Blockers, but we're going, wow, that's going to be the polar opposite of this. But we'll probably wait until we get back to New York, so it's probably going to be around, like, Tuesday that we see it. But yeah, hold out until then. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Come out next time. Bye.
Bye.